Hi there. Today in this video, I wanted to discuss on how you can remain focused while studying. And reason is because I've realized over the past couple of years, I haven't been able to remain as well focused. And I wanted to give my tips of what I've done over this time to hopefully prevent you from going through the sort of same things that I did. And I'll give a bit of a story about how I've started and how I have had to struggle with this. So I grew up around a lot of social media when I was younger. I think it was on YouTube when I was quite young, looking at a lot of stuff. A lot of it was actually quite enjoyable, but it really did not help me with my focus that much. I didn't really know how to one properly learn and also how to properly stay focused, and that means I was always doing things at the last minute and I wasn't really staying on top of the stuff that I actually wanted to. So what I wanted to do today was really just dig into why we lose focus and how we can prevent ourselves from losing focus when we're studying or when we're working on our own stuff, so we can remain focused for long periods of time and actually get the work done. Because a lot of the time we just don't get the stuff done because we just get distracted by things like social media or just other tasks in general. So I'm just going to try and give what I know about how to remain focused, and I hope this will help you as well, and it'll definitely be a bit of a reminder for me too. So, firstly, we're going to ask is why? Why do we lose focus? Why? Why do we lose focus? Well, I'll give this as an analogy. Let's say that we have a... Can I do this like if I hold shift? Yeah. There we go. I can draw a box. There we go. That looks much better. I tried doing this beforehand and it didn't really work out. Actually, I'm just going to do this like this. So, let's say we have a box of chocolates. This is a box of chocolates here. This is a very square one. It's probably like chocolates made in the shape of Lego pieces or something. And this box of chocolates represents dopamine. And you've probably heard the word dopamine many times, and it's probably doesn't really have much of a meaning to you anymore, but dopamine pretty much is just pleasure. It's just the pleasure that we have inside of ourselves, and that gets released and makes us feel happy. And every single task that we do actually gets rid of one of these dopamine things that we have in our body, or it consumes one of them and turns it into pleasure. So, let's give an example on how they are used. So, let's say, I'm starting on social media in the morning, and let's say that takes up about three dopamine stuff in the morning. That means I have 9 dopamine chocolates left over. And I've only just started the day, I've gotten rid of 3 with social media. But let's say now I want to do a bit of work. And that work actually was quite fulfilling and I actually got a lot of stuff done. So I used up 2 dopamine chocolates that I had. And let's say that I also went for a bit of a walk as well. So that also felt quite nice. Got very energized, so that used up 1. And let's also say that I had nice food as well that really tasted quite good, and I cooked up quite a bit as well. So it took up a lot of my energy, but I felt quite rewarded after it as well. So I used up 3 as well. And now we have 3 left over. 3 left over from that. We can just use them whatever. But as you can see, as we went throughout our day, we used up dopamine through all sorts of tasks, and some of them as well, like even with the cooking, we wouldn't have even realized that we used it up. And here's the major issue. A lot of people, what they end up doing is they end up putting most of it into social media. because social media itself is very addicting because it requires less effort to actually get that dopamine that we are craving. So some people end up using the whole thing on just social media. And then they end up having nothing left over in the end. Where do you think you're going to get your task done in that time? Probably not. You probably will not be getting much done if you use all your dopamine up in that first couple of hours on social media. Because another thing, social media has the highest dopamine consumption out of all of it. So let's write that down. Social media has the highest consumption of dopamine. The highest. Actually, how do I undo? There you go. The highest consumption of dopamine. And that's a very, oh god, I have media. There we go. Social media has the highest consumption of dopamine. That's very important to keep in mind, as if you're trying to get work done, particularly, you're not going to be able to get that stuff done because you've used all of it up. Those boring tasks aren't going to be pleasurable anymore. You're not going to be able to get all of it done because you've used all that dopamine up in that first part. So what can we firstly do to solve this? Because I think this is also a pretty simple solution. First thing is just get rid of your social media, limit social media. And I'm going to give you some actual strategies that you can use in just a second. I'm going to give you a strategy that I know is quite good. It works for me. But I'm going to just write down this one because this is a very important thing as well. Intake. Yeah, what you need to be doing is to actually limit. Let me shift that over. You actually need to be limiting how much social media you use. Because then you'll actually have much more of those chocolates left over to be able to use on those more boring tasks. For example, completing maths stuff, studying for your next exam, or writing out an English essay, or whatever thing you're doing. Even if it's in uni or it's in high school, using less social media is going to help with that, and it's going to allow you to focus on what you actually need to focus on, and it's going to allow you to be able to control your dopamine much more effectively and be much more present in your surroundings. So that's a very important thing as well. But as we now we know why most of our dopamine is also going. Another thing we can also do is by doing the lower simulated tasks first. Eating tasks first. There we go. I keep running off the screen. I can't see where it's cropped on my recording software. So yeah, do your lowest simulating tasks first, and then you'll be able to. Then when you get down the lower parts of the day, you can use up that last part of your dopamine because it'll get regenerated tomorrow. Because every time you use up dopamine, and when you sleep, it just comes back to normal anyway. So just by doing that lower stimulating stuff first, by completing off the bludge tasks, you're going to have more dopamine to work with. And it's also going to mean that you'll actually get more pleasure out of it because you're not used to using up so much dopamine from social media with doing barely anything. So yeah, that's the most important thing first. Yeah, get rid of your social media stuff and do your lower stimulating tasks first. That's the first thing you should be doing. Once you can take control of this, then you can start implementing this strategy that I tell you now. And I think it's a very simple strategy. It's only 3 steps. And I'll scroll down. And I'm going to do it in pink because pink is cool. So the strategy. Here we go. Right. Take notes here because this is going to be life-changing. Yeah, so here's the strategy. It's a 3-step strategy. So once we've been able to take control of our dopamine and figure out what gives us the pleasure, we can start moving on to this and actually developing our strategy to moving forward to our success. So first thing we need to do is to gain a purpose. Now, this is already going to be a very difficult thing for a lot of people, and I get that. And the reason is, most of us, we're probably pretty young. We don't really know what we want to be doing, and that's what is frustrating, because we don't know what to do, we don't actually know how to move forward. We don't really know what we want to do. So I'm going to give you a purpose here that actually fits with a lot of things and a lot of our dreams that we have in mind. Most of the purposes that, if you want to come up with your own purpose, you really just want to figure out what you want your end, what you want to be remembered for. Or think about the end. Like, if you're at a funeral or whatever, what do you want to be on your graves? What do you want to have on your gravestone? What do you want to be written here? And that allows you to figure out how you want to move forward. Like, it doesn't have to be about what you do. Maybe it's just about how you want your personality to be. Maybe you don't want it to just be about, oh, I worked at this job. Maybe it's just I just want to help the community. What can you do to get there? And, I mean, a simple strategy that you can just use right now to get moving. And I recommend just doing this now so you don't not just sitting around and not doing anything. It's really just being in the same position that you are now is more terrifying than being in a situation that is much better down the road. What did I write down? What hurts even more is staying in the same spot. I'll write that down. Is staying still. For a lot of us, if you're in a troubling situation with things like finances or with friend groups, staying still in the same spot is not where you want to be. You want to be moving forward to the next thing. And if you're just staying in the same spot all the time, you're not going to be able to move forward. And that's why you need to be doing stuff to be able to get to a better spot than you are now. It doesn't matter where you are. The more you learn, the more you look into the world and take from it or learn from it, you're going to be moving forward in some degree. The more experience that you get is going to move you forward. Every little thing is not staying still. It's just moving forward. So, by just doing stuff to get forward and trying to look for different ways to make yourself better, that's a purpose. And it allows you to move towards something even if you don't really know where you want to be. Because you're going to be better off than you were right now if you're just doing stuff. Maybe it's exercise. Maybe it's just learning. Maybe it's just learning how to learn. All that sort of stuff is what's going to help you move forward and get to a better spot. So take that strategy there if you don't know what to do or you don't have a purpose of what you actually want to move. If you've got a purpose now, do that, because that's going to be more fulfilling for you. And that comes across in the next thing. Gain ambition. Because to be able to have ambition, you got to actually, want to do the thing that you want to do in this. And I'll define ambition here because maybe my definition's a little bit different, but I think it's a better one anyway. Ambition is pretty much just talking about if you can do something. So let's say, so you have motivation. You have your motivation to actually do something, and then you have your willpower. And these things are actually inversely proportional, but I'm going to put that sign there. Don't get into the maths of it. If your motivation, if you have high motivation, it means you need low willpower to get stuff done. But if you have low motivation, you need more willpower to get it done, or to complete your tasks. And ambition really is just talking about having the high motivation to get stuff done. Be ambitious to get towards the next task. Doesn't matter what it is. It's just wanting to actually do something. Can you come up with a plan? Can you get the motivation to move towards it? And having the ambition to move forward is so important. But the problem is, most people don't have ambition because they don't have goals. Which is why you also need to get goals. Because once you have the goals, you can have the motivation. Goals give motivation, and motivation gives goals. Boost one of these, guess what? This is also going to be boosted too. And that means you need less willpower. Because willpower you've only got a certain amount of. You only have a certain amount of willpower for anything. And that can fluctuate throughout the day as well. But because willpower fluctuates, it means that the problem is if you need to get something done and you don't have the motivation to do it, guess what? The willpower's going to go over. And if you're going to have the low willpower, or you're going to have you have to have high willpower to get something done. And you won't be able to do it. So, and motivation also fluctuates too, which means you also need to have some level of willpower as well. You need to have some level of willpower, which is where I will get to the second one, which is about motivation. But really, you want to have a decent level of motivation so that you need less willpower to get the stuff done. And even when you have low motivation, you can have your strength from pushing through with willpower to come through. And that's pretty much that. And I'll now go into my other one, which the third one, the last one, which is then to finally learn to keep momentum, to gain momentum. And that's essentially just learning to. Oh, I've gone the wrong way actually. It's learning to boost your willpower. And how does that come across? How do you get higher momentum? How do you learn to have the higher willpower? Practice. You just need a lot of practice. You need practice in pretty much everything. Think of all your favorite athletes. They are always practicing and learning to get better at moving forward and keeping momentum. Like, for example, some people, probably if you've done like sport and stuff, when people move like very jittily and very awkwardly, now that's actually just learning to listen to yourself and listen to your own body. And those people are able to listen to their body so well to get to a point that is so impressive. And what I mean by saying that is that when you listen to your body, you'll actually learn how to get higher willpower. Because you're able to listen to what your body's telling you. If it tells you it's tired, then you'll know to take a break. And that allows you to keep momentum going as well. Every time you listen to your body, it's going to allow you to have higher willpower. It also allows you as well to have higher motivation. That's why journaling is so important, because you're essentially just listening to what makes you happy, what makes you sad, what makes you frustrated, and you can move towards steps to get to that point. It allows you to make your goals. See how everything's interconnected here? So yeah, listening to your body is another one of those key things. Another one of those key things. If you can listen to your body, you're going to be able to have higher motivation and higher willpower. Having both of these allows you to pretty much essentially being able to do both of these at the same time, have higher both. Guess what? You're going to be able to do everything every single day without stopping and slowing down, which is going to be amazing for getting stuff done. So yeah, get a high amount of momentum with practice by listening to your body. Figure out when you need to take breaks. Figure out when you can keep going. And even if you feel a bit of brain fog, you just got to push through it. Because again, what hurts even more is staying still. So by learning to keep momentum, you'll be able to keep moving forward. Because it's like another thing as well. It's very easy to start a task. Very hard to keep momentum. So easy to start. Hard to keep momentum. It's very easy to start a task, but keeping momentum's the hardest thing because of people's low willpower. So by just practicing, being able to push through things like procrastination, just getting down and doing it, feeling the frustration, but just moving forward, it allows you to get to a better spot. And most of the time another thing is just that you have to do those tasks at some point. You have to do it at some point, so why not just do it now? Why wait until the future when you can just do the stuff now and get further ahead? And it also comes back to just doing the lower stuff first. Doing the lower stimulating tasks first. Because if you do that lower stuff first, you're gonna be more fulfilled anyway. If you're doing it first up. If you're doing the social media first, those lower stimulating tasks that require more willpower are going to be harder to do. Because they're not as stimulating and they're not as rewarding with dopamine. So, those are some tips that you can do to keep momentum going. So I'll reiterate these things for you here. So first thing you need to do is you need to figure out your purpose. This is a great starting point right here. I would suggest that what hurts even more is just staying still. We all want to move to a better spot. Even if you don't know where you want to go, you're going to be better off moving forward rather than staying still. Once you've got a purpose, then you can gain ambition. You can then use that thing here to help you get more motivation. So even if you've got low willpower, you're still able to move forward. And even if that isn't helping you here, you can also do it through goals. With goals that allow you to move forward, you're going to have higher motivation. Goals that achieve this purpose here are going to allow you to have higher motivation to actually do them. Once you've got your purpose, once you've got your ambition, you can then start. And then the hardest thing afterwards is just keeping momentum. And guess what that comes down with? Practice. You figured it. The thing is, you figured out your purpose. You figured out your ambition. Now you got to keep momentum. And that's an ongoing process. Ongoing process. It's a cycle. It's a cycle. And by just listening to your body and practicing, you'll be able to move forward endlessly to get to where you want to be. And that's the strategy. that's pretty much it. Thank you very much for listening as well. I hope you got through the whole thing. I wanted to be quite in depth with it because what I have in my mind needs to get out some way, because it's very easy to just say, oh, these are the things you need to do, but you need to have the reason behind it. You got to have the mindset. And ambition is so important. Having the purpose is there, but having that ambition, having the motivation, the drive, it's in you. A lot of people, it's in you. And if you've got ambition, you can do anything. You can do anything because you'll have the ambition to gain momentum. You'll have the ambition to achieve your purpose. All of these interlink with each other in some way or another. And the most important thing is just to listen to yourself and figure out how they interlink between you. So I hope that was quite useful for you. Good luck out there. Let me know how it goes in the comments below, and yeah, give me some tips on what you want to hear if there's anything else as well. Thanks very much for listening. Hope to talk to you next one. Right. See ya.